This GPS tracker has a battery life of up to 4 months. This video is sponsored by ebikesearch.com. It's a brand new buy and sell website dedicated for electric bikes. Anybody can list their own e-bike for sale and allow people from all over the country to find their bike. They can search by price, they can search by the type of motor, the brand, the power, or if you have an electric bike you want to sell, that is the place to find a buyer quickly and easily. There are multiple reasons you might want a GPS tracker on your bike. The most obvious one, or the one that I get asked about the most, would be to prevent theft or to recover your bike. And in the past, when people have asked me about this, I've just had to say, I don't really have a good solution for you. The trackers were either too big, too bulky. Primarily, I think the biggest problem was that the battery life wasn't very good. Some of the tracking devices, like a tile, rely on Bluetooth or other communication systems that in a rural area like where I'm at just probably wouldn't work at all. When Invoxia reached out to me with their very slim, small GPS tracker with a claimed battery life of up to 4 months, I decided it was time to give this a second look. And the second reason, besides just recovering or preventing someone from stealing your beautiful electric bike, I think is also a good safety reason. Maybe you have a significant other that goes on rides all the time by themselves. You could potentially have a tracker on their bike that both of you know about, both of you have an app connected to. If they're 30 minutes, an hour late, you can make sure that they're not stuck alongside the road somewhere. But before you think that you can take something like this and track down a thief, make sure to call your local police department or law enforcement and ask them what they would recommend is the best scenario for recovering an e-bike. Before I get too into the weeds of this particular GPS tracker, we need to find out if it even works. If we put this on the Cheetah bike, can I use the app on my phone to track the bike down? We're outside. Jory is on the Cheetah bike, one of our demo models. I'm on the Ubco, so hopefully that means I have a little more speed and I can catch him. But what we're doing is testing out the GPS. So basically what I'm gonna do is just let him go ride. He's not gonna tell me where he's going, how far he's going, if he's stopping, going around in circles. I really don't know. Hopefully he'll stop if I don't catch up to him at some point, but I'm gonna rely completely on the GPS. So as soon as the GPS alerts me there's been movement, then I can look around and be like, oh, is the bike here? It's gone. And then we'll see if you could actually track somebody down. Go for it, steal the bike. Now this will be really interesting to see. Wow, that was fast. So he just got to the gate. That's like 30 feet away, and I already got a notification that says there's some movement. Tilt, that means maybe somebody bumped it, not a big deal. I have actually found that the tracker is really sensitive. Like if I have a bike sitting outside and the wind blows it, it will detect a tilt. So while Jory has a little bit of a head start, let's dive into some of the features of the Invoxia GPS. The battery level, they say up to 4 months. That would realistically be in like a standby mode. In other words, you have the GPS turned on, but it's stationary, it's not being moved. Basically, it kind of has, I don't know if they call it a sleep mode, but effectively a sleep mode. So if the GPS is not registering any movement whatsoever, it's not being tilted, turned, jostled, then it's not going to send you updates every few minutes or however often you have it set. It's just going to wait.
Man, it is really smoky today.
Because why waste battery sending updates when it knows that it hasn't been moved? And like I said, it's really sensitive.
I'm gonna see if this GPS really works. Try to lose him.
So here we have a history of positions. So it's kind of a range. It's not an exact science. I assume it has to do with when it can see a satellite or a satellite can see it, how often it updates. But 203, 207, 212. So it's now 216. It's been 4 minutes and it's updating every 5 to 7 minutes. Now it's 2:17, so it's been 5 minutes. So any second now, I should get an updated location where the GPS is right now.
I don't see him behind me yet. Think I'll outrun him? Think he'll find me?
Now, obviously, it's going to take me 5 minutes to get to that location, at which point Jory will probably be somewhere else. So it's lagging behind a little bit. One thing this is not is a real-time tracker. You couldn't put this on something and figure out where it is this instant unless you happen to be watching when one of those updates goes through. So if somebody stops for more than 5 minutes or 10 minutes, say, then you're going to find your bike. I did tell Jory to find a spot and hide there. So I can show you all of the features that this thing has, because once you get really close, it does something pretty cool.
There he is. He finally found me.
I found him, but I hadn't actually picked him up yet. Now I got you.
Now you have.
Well, now that I randomly found him, it updated and it told me he was right there. I found you. Keep going, I guess. GoPro battery good?
Are you gonna count to 20 first?
1, 2, 3. Watching him in the mirror. 4, 20. So I had 207 to 212. That was at the shop. And then I had 221 was the next update. Which actually was 7 minutes. So I'm gonna hang out here for another 5 to 7 minutes. Hopefully it picks him up.
Jory 1, GPS 0.
Oh, 228. We got a hit. Aha!
Oh, he finally got me.
Okay, so now that I found with the GPS, this is the proximity radar. So it's kind of like a hot and cold. So as I move closer to the bike, the signal gets stronger and stronger. And at any time I can press this button that says start ringing, and it plays a little tune. So after some experimentation, what this is good for would be tracking down your bike. I think that this works. What it's not good for is like a real-time GPS tracker. If you want updates every few seconds or even every minute, this is not gonna do it. There might be something else on the market that does a better job, but the reason this works so well is because the battery life is so good. If you have a GPS tracker that updates more often, but the battery's gonna die in 24 hours, to me, that's not as good of a solution as something like this, where I don't have to worry about charging it every day, even every week, maybe even every month, depending on how I'm using it. If we go into the settings, we can change things like significant journey. I had to ask the guys at Invoxia what that meant. Basically, you can turn that on if you want to be notified when the GPS tracker goes outside of your normal range. So if you're using your tracker on your bike on a daily basis, you have a usual route that you go on around your town, your neighborhood, it's gonna learn what those locations are. And if it sees one day all of a sudden that it goes way outside of that, it can alert you right away to say, hey, your bike went outside of its normal area. Is that okay? And of course you can just dismiss the notification if it's you riding around. We also have movement detected. This is very sensitive. It works really well. It can detect if the GPS has been moved, if it's been tilted. The biggest thing you can do that affects the battery is the update rate. Currently I have it set to high since we were actively doing a test trying to track down another bike, which means that it updates every 5 to 7 minutes. And the battery life says 4 days to 2 weeks. Now that might seem like a really wide range, but it depends on the activity of the tracker. So if it's being moved around all the time, it's sending constant updates, then it's going to be closer to that 4-day time frame. If you want the battery life to last a little bit longer between charges, you can change it to every 10 to 12 minutes or every 30 to 32 minutes. So the app is fairly simple to use. The tracker seems a little bit smarter than it might look. It's not just using GPS. I'm told that it also uses something called Wi-Fi sniffing, as well as the Bluetooth signals to pinpoint its location. There is one thing that this was missing. Now, this has a little lanyard. You could loop it around something. You could put it in your pocket. You could put it in a saddlebag. It seems like for an e-bike, however, this should have some sort of holder, and it doesn't come with one, so I made my own. You can buy these GPS trackers on quite a few places online, but if you buy it at Bolton e-bikes, I include this custom 3D printed holder that can be zip tied anywhere on your bike. And it snaps in place very easily, can snap right off. And this slot along the side is to hold the little lanyard in place so it's not flopping around and getting caught in the gears or pedals or anything. So the good news is we were able to find the cheetah bike at the end of this video. I was able to locate Jory and find his hiding spot. I'm really happy that this has worked out, and I'm happy enough with these GPS trackers that they are now immediately available on boltedebikes.com.